was worried about his own people. He just spent the last 8 chapters of this letter that he's written, the letter to the Romans, describing the history and the plight and the solution to mankind's ills. He starts in chapter 1 talking about everybody having a knowledge of God, not just his people. In chapter 2, he goes further to describe that just because you're religious, just because you're Jewish, doesn't mean you're off the hook as far as needing to make things right with God. Chapter 3, he gives the solution that Jesus has been sent to reconcile, to make right, to offer covenant. Chapter 4, he talks about our response, the way we enter into that rightness, and that's through our faith. Chapter 5, he goes into the process of transformation involving pain. Chapter 6, he begins to describe the 2 lives that are taking place, the dead us and the living us, and that we spend the rest of our lives sorting this out. Chapter 7, he describes in detail the frustration of living these 2 lives simultaneously and how hopeless it is without God's solution. Chapter 8, he gives the solution, that living by the Spirit, entering into adoption, and moving toward the love of God, the full, beautiful love of God, which will renew not just us, but the entire created universe as well. Well, now we're to Paul's big question. What about my own people? God seems to have bypassed Judaism and moved into full-blown, completed Judaism. It would be a while before people would be called Christians. So much so that Paul had to explain why it was that God was favoring non-religious people, why he was favoring the Gentiles. In essence, he says God still has a plan for his own people, that God in his sovereignty will bring them back as well. It's an interesting and sad history of how the Gentiles have treated Paul's people, how they've treated the Jews over the last 2,000 years. It almost seems like now, with the 20th century come and gone, and the Holocaust, and the remarkable, miraculous story of the founding of the nation of Israel in 1948, that things are beginning to turn around again. Where now it's the Christians who are the religious people and the Jewish people who are sort of the newbies. The time comes, Paul says, the time will come when God pours his Spirit out on his original people, on the people of the original tree, and they too are brought back into the fold.
Across the finish line,